to the Metal Command Podcast.
Greetings and welcome back to the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you. As always, really excited to be here with everybody today. And if you do want to support the show and you like what you've seen here on this podcast, by all means, hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Hit that little bell to be notified anytime I do post any kind of content. And if you follow the show on any other form of social media or streaming service, by all means, give the show a like, follow, or subscribe there. Today's show, I have an interview with Sascha Gerstner, one of the guitar players in Helloween. Sascha has been a part of the band for over 22 years, and he has written over 30 songs for the band, including 2 brand new songs on the upcoming Helloween album called Giants and Monsters, which does come out August 29th, 2025 on Reigning Phoenix Music. I remember when Sascha joined the band, and over the years, it's been great to watch him grow with the band and really write some incredible music. I've always really been a big fan of the songs he has written with Helloween. And he has 2 songs on this album. One is called Universe, Gravity of Hearts, and you have another song called Hand of God. Both are absolutely incredible, and in my opinion, the 2 best songs he has ever written with the band. I'm very proud to see how awesome and he has been over these last 22 years, and this interview was a lot of fun, as we also decided to deep dive into the band's history a little bit, especially his history within Helloween. So with that said, here is the interview with myself and Sascha Gerstner from Helloween. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Metal Command Podcast. Tony here with you, and today's guest that I have on the show. He has been a guitar player in Helloween now for over 22 years. He has written over 30 songs with the band, and of course, just celebrating his 48th birthday, but he still looks 28. Sascha Gerstner. Thanks for coming on the show. Really excited to talk to you because I think you've put out an incredible album.
Oh, thanks, man. First off, I have to say, what a great introduction.
Well, you're like I think you're 7 months older than me, but you don't. And the reason I bring that up is because I found some old photos of you from way back in the day. I found some studio photos from the Keeper Legacy when you guys were recording that, actually. And I'm like, dude, this guy, aside from facial hair, he doesn't look any different. Hair might be shorter, but you look pretty much the same.
Yes. My style was changing all throughout the years, so it's like a lot of experimentation going on. So but I always had that since my youth. So it's just naturally. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. So I'm just going to start this off. I'm sure you saw me post this, but I'm going to be honest with you. The 2 songs that you've written on this album, and you've written quite a few pretty good songs with this band, these are the 2 best tracks I think you've ever written. When I heard the song Universe, I was completely blown away by that, and I had to go back and listen to that song actually quite a few times on repeat. And then the song after it, Hand of God, it's hard to describe. I could tell it was you that wrote it, but it's unlike any song the band has ever recorded. And I actually love both of those tracks. Because when I go back and listen to the discography, I heard Hand of God. I'm like, I can't quite think of a song Helloween has ever done that sounds like this. But I absolutely love both of those songs. Let's talk about those, because Universe it sounds like something that could be on Keeper 2. And have a lot of really cool parts in the middle, where Kai is singing. So let's talk about that song first. What'd you write that about? And, what was the process in creating that? Because I'll be honest with you, that's one of the songs I've hit on repeat about, 50 times when I started listening to this.
Oh, well, first off, thank you. It's great to see now that we're doing this interview run, how well people are reflecting on what you had on mind when you were writing the song, because most of the times you have a certain vibe when you do something creatively, but you don't know how people will soak that in, and if they would reflect the same feeling, you know. And what I received so far is exactly the things you said, and it's kind of making me happy to see that it worked, you know, because especially Universe was very tough to create, because it really took me a couple of days to connect all the parts, and in a demo period, you know. So so what I typically would do if I write songs, I would play an instrument. It would be guitar or synthesizer, and I would play around and do some sound design. That's what I basically do, just for fun, you know. And then most of the times, at the same time, I start singing. So for me, it's always about the vocals. So vocals are always hero for me. So I start playing around, doing some sound design, and start singing, and then something's just coming up, you know. It could be either be phonetically nonsense, you know. So I would just like start to sing something that sounds English, but it doesn't make sense. And with in that process, most of the time there comes some hook up to my mind, you know. And with this song, it happened the same way. I was creating this super dystopian clean guitar sound, and I started singing, and I suddenly had that word universe coming in. I don't want to be too esoterical about it, but it was just being something that was coming up, and then it was evolving to what it is now. You know, it was like I woke up the next morning, you know, I was starting recording. I woke up the next morning, and I had a pretty good first verse, and then I thought like, okay, I have to continue. I was like really into it so much to finish the song. I had a feeling it's something that's gonna be big, and I knew it will be probably a pretty long song, because, you know, things started to develop on my mind while I was doing parts. You know, it was like, okay, and there will be, I want to do this part, and I want to go into another in a breakdown, and you know, so it was really a journey for me, and doing a song like this was just like giving birth to an idea, you know. And also like lyrical wise, I think what happens now with me in this day and age is that I kind of mature up with my writing, you know. Like it was always fun for me to write songs, and like you said, I'm like 22 or 23 years in a band, and when I joined the band I was 25 years old, so pretty young by that time. But I was already accepted, and they already wanted to have my song ideas, and it was fun to do that. But I was like very naive by that time. Like I didn't think too much about it, and I also didn't know when it came to lyrics and subjects. On the first record we did together, I had a lot of help from Andy, you know, who's a great songwriter. What he does is impressive, you know, also over such a career span, lifespan that he has, delivering always high quality songs. And that was really inspiring for me. But I had the appreciation already, you know, but I don't think my songs were as mature as they are now, you know. That's at least how it feels for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you've written some really great tracks. People will still bring up a song like "Listen to the Flies" and some of your other stuff that you wrote early on. I see it in social media comments. I just see people's comments in general, and I think for me, I just, you know, like when the two people on this album that really surprised me were you and Kai. Because Kai kind of, you know, if you go and listen to a lot of the Gamma Ray albums, you know, Kai has a pretty distinct songwriting style that's changed. That had changed a little bit since he was out of Helloween, and it just, you guys, both of you, I think the songs you wrote took turns I was not expecting. And the other song that, as we say here, hit home with me was the song "Hand of God." It's not really because it sounds so different than anything the band has ever done. But the lyrics, I think I've interpreted this song correctly. The lyrics really hit home with me for a very big reason. But maybe talk about that track a little bit, because that song is actually the guitar harmonies that you play in the middle of it, the guitar solos. I mean, when people hear the album, they'll understand what I'm talking about. But just the melodies, especially in the middle of the song, everything that you play, it sounds absolutely incredible.
Nice. Well, as you said, it's maybe something that's a little bit different from what we did before. Although I have to say, the band did a Dark Ride album as well, right? And where it was pretty different to what they did before. And I kind of enjoy that we sometimes have that discussion in the band with certain people when it's about what is Helloween about, or what is a Helloween song, you know? And I keep saying, like, with the albums we made, we're able to do a lot of different styles because the band was experimenting a lot in the past, you know, and that gave the band the range, because there were always fans who were appreciating that. Of course, you have like the diehard old school 80s metal fans who didn't appreciate it as much, you know, but being experimental was giving us the possibility to spread out a little bit creatively, and with that song, it's something that I knew I can do, you know, and I knew that probably Andy will be keen of that, and that's why I also was suggesting him to sing the song, because I thought it would be perfect for him, you know, and that was absolutely the case. He loved it from the beginning, you know, and lyrical wise, it's something. Now you said like we're 7 months divided between each other. We come at an age now where you definitely know this journey is going to end at some time, you know, and so you think about those things, and I was just thinking, like, everything you do in life is adding up and summing up to a certain extent, and don't want to be too Christian about this, but it was more metaphorical speaking. Will there be a hand of God reaching out for you because you did the right things, you did the right choices, you know? That's what the song is basically about. It's about the choices you made in life, and the last moment when you close your eyes, metaphorically speaking, will it be a good summary of what you have done, you know?
So I will tell you how the song affected me, because I was listening to it, and I think you remember, a lot of people know this now, I think you remember about almost 7 years ago now, almost 7 years ago, I was hit by lightning, if you remember that. And everything that song talks about is exactly what was going through my mind directly after that happened. So when I was listening to that, I was thinking about I was really thinking about that whole situation and what happened. And that song made me think about that, because it's really about, you know, you talk about your journey, you know, we're kind of halfway through our lives now. And I was like, man, is my life going to end? Right. And that went through my mind. And I think lyrically, that and the song Into the Sun that Andy wrote about reincarnation, I think that those two songs lyrically had the biggest effect on me with the album.
See, and that's the whole point of when we're creating music. You know, Helloween is a band that's known for being funny and hilarious, you know, and not taking everything so seriously. But at the same time, we know that we have responsibility when we write lyrics, you know, and I mean, I'm receiving regularly messages on social media, you know. I'm active on social media, and so proactive on social media, and I see what fans are writing and what the lyrics do to them, and that makes you feel really responsible for what to write about, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like people think about those things, and it's not that you're some kind of a prophet or something, but it's something that you can deliver with a song, especially when you. And I think that's the perfect goal for me as an artist, is to support the lyrics with the right vibe in the instrumentation. You know, that's always the main goal for me. I don't like um I don't like to bring songs to the band or play them songs for an album if I don't have the feeling that the vibe is right for the lyrics, you know. And a lot of people don't think about this. They do a song and then they're like, oh, we have to put some vocals on there, you know. They lay out some riffs and stuff and instrumentation, and they found it pretty dope because it's rocking, you know. And then they start, oh, we need someone singing on there and making some lyrics. But if it doesn't connect, it doesn't do something to you. And I believe that if you have the right melody and the right lyrics with the right instrumentation, you can really hit people in their heart or in on their mind, you know. So and I think that's important because for responsibility reasons, you know.
Yeah, the last interview I did I did an interview with Andy in December, and one of the things he described the album as that it was easier to listen to, and I really didn't understand what he meant by that until I heard it. But the band feels like you were a lot more relaxed and confident going into making this record, and it doesn't feel, you know, like the self-titled album. I'm sure some people felt some pressure to really deliver an album. You have this lineup. There's a lot of hype with Kai and Kiski being back. And this second one, this Giants and Monsters album, the band just feels more confident. Did you feel that way? Like when you went into the studio and everybody started writing their stuff, did it feel like, okay, we have this experience. We all know, you know, what things are like with all 7 of these guys. And now we don't feel the pressure anymore.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that happened on different levels. You know, first of all, I have to say, of course, everything feels more unified now because we did 2 world tours and had the successful album, you know, in our backs. So that helps a lot to be more confident as a band. You know, I mean, the 5 of us before Kiske and Kai came back, we were really working in harmony for so many years. It was a really stable lineup. I think it was the most stable lineup the band ever had, you know, and so there was a lot of harmony and trust going on, which we also had to build up. You know, you do that as a band. You know, that's important to build that up, and you can only do that if you succeed for a longer time and if you go through difficult periods as well together, and especially when you tour. It's like out of this world experience, you know. It's not what the average dude or girl would do in their lives, and of course you have struggles and good days, bad days, joy, and you know, you go through a lot of emotions together, and that kind of forms a band, you know. And the other thing is also, like, lyrically wise, I see that sometimes that we don't have to plan on an album, you know. It's not like, yeah, what's the concept for the next record? You know, like sometimes we have to find the concept later on of course, you have to package an album and deliver it in a way so people can easily get into, you know.
Yeah.
But we don't need a concept because we're so good in sync that even like subject wise, when it comes to lyrics or where we at in our lives is giving us the opportunity to make an album that's a perfect snapshot at where we at right now, you know, of where we at right now. And so, that's another level. And then also, I think when 2 new old members come back into the band, they find a band they don't know, you know, they remember the band it was in the 80s.
Yeah.
And now there's this new band, and you have to kind of get in sync again.
Mhm.
You have to find out where are the abilities of each member. You have to, and then like you said, of course, with the last album, there was the pressure there because we knew that there will be a lot of focus from the outside on what are they doing now, and the expectations were high, and so of course you have to find a way within the band to make it work. And and it was successful. We went on a successful tour after that, and that makes you be more relaxed for sure, And I have to say, creatively also, you have to kind of build trust again. You have to, we all knew who Kai is and Kiske are, what the two guys can deliver, but they didn't know me, for instance. I mean, they didn't know what I could bring to the table, and they have to build their trust as well. And I feel with this album there was more trust than on the last one, and it's easier to work that way, and it feels more unified. So in that sense, we can. I mean, I would like with this album, I would constantly go back and forth with Kai, for instance, about creative decisions and sounds, and so it felt way more unified and creative than the last album.
Yeah. It's interesting because on the, speaking of the last album, you had a song that was a bonus track called Golden Times, and you had Kiske singing it. And I kept thinking to myself, and on this next record, it would be really cool if Sascha wrote a song where Michael Kiske is singing a majority of the vocals. Because I think Golden Times actually, could have been on the album. I think it's really that good. And then you did it with Universe, and his vocal performance on that, it was like you guys were meant to play music together. Like you had been playing music together for 20 years. That is what that song felt like. And that is the whole vibe I ended up getting from the album, is everybody just felt, I can't really pinpoint it. It felt like people were just more relaxed and in tune with each other. And, it was a very, I guess, laid back album, probably the best as we say here. And, easier to listen to from that standpoint.
Yeah. First of all, I have to say Golden Times is a song that I hear a lot from fans could have been on the album. And that's what I meant before. When we did the last album, I don't feel like it was as unified as it is now, and this especially was a song there was not enough trust to put it on the album, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you struggle with when you join such an old legendary band that you still kind of have to prove that you get what it's about and what the music is about. Not to everyone in the band, but that's a decision I couldn't understand back then, and obviously a lot of fans didn't understand. But that happens from time to time. That happens, and also we're an organic band with a lot of opinions and feelings. And if nobody is fighting for your song and it ends up to be a B-side, no matter what, we recorded it, it's out there, people can enjoy it. So I don't have hard feelings, and I don't think that it's causing a problem. But on the other hand, it was of course pushing me furthermore to show people who didn't build trust to 100% that I'm able to do something like this. And like you said, I didn't know the number, but you said it. It's more than 30 songs I've written for the band. I mean, that's pretty a lot. That's not nothing. So and still, of course, you kind of when new members come back in the band or in the band, you have to develop an organic feeling again together, and that's what we maybe didn't have that much on the last album, but we had very strong songwriting and a lot of focus, and that worked. But with this album, it's totally different. This feels more trusted and more organic and more unified. And that's maybe what Andy meant when he said it's easier to listen to because you can feel that unified vibe, I believe. And also from the production, like we had the same team behind the production, and things we could have done better the last time, we did better now, and that makes this album way stronger and more vibey than the last one, I think.
Yeah, I would totally 100% agree with you on that. And again, Helloween's a band that always writes tons of songs, and it's actually, when you listen to most of their albums, it's hard to pick out which ones you could put on the album and which ones because you have so many tracks, you have to make some of them bonus tracks, right? And
absolutely, yeah,
and unfortunately, I don't think it's like, if a song ends up as a bonus track, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just it. You have so many songs, and you have to figure out, okay, what's going to go here and what's not. And sometimes, the band has always had a track record of recording songs and then having some great songs as bonus tracks. It's always happened.
Hey, listen, in this day and age, I don't even think it's a big problem because with streaming and all this stuff, a bonus track is still on the album somehow, and people can enjoy it, and that's the best thing. They don't have to buy some special compilation to have the bonus tracks. They go on their streaming platform and they can listen to the song, and the other thing is, for me personally, it made me happy to see that there are fans out there who are appreciating my writing, and so it doesn't matter if it's a bonus track or not. It's just from the historical perspective, why does this album feel different than the last one? This is a song that explained perfectly what was happening, right? So there was still a band that's kind of managing its way to get unified and to build trust on each other that the 5 guys before the reunion had already, so that's something that you have to build up. And you can only do that through the process of creating an album together. You can't, and going on tour together. You can't do that you can't go into that whole thing and say like, hey, listen, but I have written 30 songs. You have to trust me. I can do that. And with such a focus on what we had with the last album, just trust me. I have great songs, and you have to put them on the album. You can't. It doesn't work like that. It has to build up. It's a relationship that has to build, and we're still about to do that. It's never ending. It's still something that we have to build up, and I'm guessing here that even this upcoming tour will make it much easier than the last tour, because we build up more trust and we feel more comfortable as a band that we are now, than it was in the beginning, where everybody didn't know, do we get along? How long does this take? Are we able to make an album at one point? So we didn't know that when it happened, and then also I have to say each album is a snapshot of where the band is right now, so you can't plan that. You can't construct success. You can't construct emotions. You can figure out some surroundings for that to happen, but you can't construct that. And and I like that about my band, that everybody is pretty spontaneous to try out stuff, and then and that makes it feel more organic for me.
But I'll end the bonus track thing with this. My favorite Sascha bonus track is Wicked Game. I just want to let you know that. Yeah. And my guy Give It Right had a lot of bonus tracks, but that is my favorite bonus track that you've written. I just kind of want to let you know that.
Oh yeah. I didn't even know that it was a bonus track. I just know that we recorded the song and it somehow ended up to be released. So yeah.
Yeah, for those that haven't heard that song, you should definitely hear that song. I'm sure it's out there on the streaming platforms and stuff now, but I remember when that album came out, and I remember that specific song when I ended up getting to the bonus disc of the album, and that was, I think it might have been the first song that came up, but nevertheless, I figured I would let you know that.
Yeah. And Marcus did a lot of bonus tracks as well, which are pretty good. So it's as I said, like nowadays, it's not a big deal anymore. It's not like, and also not every bonus track is a bonus track because it's a bad song. It's just like sometimes you have too many songs, and then you have recorded the songs, and then you feel like, yeah, but we like it still, and we have recorded it.
Yeah.
And why should we hide it from the public? So sometimes you have to do that, yeah, from my side, about the whole bonus track subject, no hard feelings. It's just like, it just described for me what happened with the band structure during the last album, and why a lot of people now, while we're doing this promo run, is we get the same feeling from everyone. Everybody says, "Oh, this album feels more unified. The band feels more secure," like you said, right? Mm-hmm. So, and that's totally true, and that's how things are evolved. And I wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and as a matter of history, it's been, when you have some major changes, it usually, in any band, it doesn't really matter. You usually have to get an album under your belt to be able to, to be able to really get a feel for each other. Like I remember when the Keeper Legacy album was recorded, Danny had just joined the band, but then the album after that, Gambling with the Devil, felt like the band was more relaxed and more in tune. And you could feel that actually in the live shows. You could definitely see that for, the Gambling with the Devil album. And then after that, it just, as the albums progressed, as they were recorded over the years, you felt more and more of you guys getting tighter and really becoming, that the 5-piece unified group of guys that you've been for since, then of course the Pumpkins United thing happened. So I think what really helped the whole thing work out too is that you had 5 guys that had been together for a long time. It made it probably easier for these other 2 guys to join, and you had this great foundation already, very stable one. And I think that's why, part of the reason that's why this has worked so well.
Yeah, it's part of the reason, and it's also because of the social structure we have built before that, and I have to mention, not alone as a band, we with each band, it's also the people you work with. For us, it was our management was a key factor.
Sure.
In developing that. So without that, it wouldn't have had worked. It's like, of course, I think communication is the key, and a lot of people can do that, unfortunately. But we had to kind of develop a band language to talk about things with each other, if something goes wrong. And then at the same time, we had great people around us that were supporting that, and also sometimes taking away decisions from us that would have otherwise brought us into a really bad situation, So I want to point that out, that it's not only you as a band, as an artist, it's also the people you work with, and yeah, so we had luck in that sense, So and like you said, the Legacy album, there was a lot of changes happening in between. For me personally, it was a journey to even become a band member, or feel like, or at least feel like one, because I was kind of rushed into the band. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't aiming for that. That's another thing. If you're aiming for a band like this, and you're this young guitar player, and you're sending out demo tapes, back then it would have been that way, and to get a gig, you have a different mindset than someone who was kind of rushed into that, So, and that happened to me. I wasn't prepared for that. By that time, before I joined the band, I didn't even I didn't even think about that type of music anymore. You know, I was like, I was at a point where I was like, oh, I've done that. I've seen how it is. I want to go into other directions. You know, I was eventually starting out to building up a solo career. You know, um, as a singer slash guitar player, and so I was working on that on by the time, and then suddenly and producing records and stuff. You know, and and then suddenly you get the phone call and you realize, okay, this is huge, and it sounds interesting, and okay, let's get into this. And I wasn't even asked to join the band. It was like, hey, do you get along? If you get along with Vikey, let's do an album together. And if you want to, you can contribute songs as well. And for me, it was like 25 years old, making an album with a legendary band. They want my songwriting, and now they want to travel with me the world, and I get paid. Yes, I'm in. You know, so that's how it was happening. And it was not that I was like aiming for that type of music or that type of band. And that made it really hard for me to, or it took a long time for me to swallow that in, and all the experiences that came with it. You know, it like my life changed suddenly 180 degrees, you know, and you have to kind of process that. And I had to find my way within this band and also within our fan base to reinvent myself, you know. And so with the Legacy album, it started slowly to go into the right direction for me personally, but also for us as a band, because we did these 2 albums. We did the first world tour with Danny, who was the greatest addition since I joined the band, from the drummer's perspective, and a super nice guy, and everything clicked. Then we had a new management coming in at the same time, and it was a pinnacle point. Yeah. So
it was pretty crazy. I remember quite. It's hard to put into words, but everything. I mean, how many drummers did you go through before you found Danny? Then you have a new management change, and then you're putting out this, you know, an album called Keep Her Legacy, which, you know, is a risk in itself. It was a pretty, back then was a crazy, it was a crazy time. I just remember the drummer situation on the album before that. Plus you have a new lineup. And of course, when you have new lineups, not everybody's happy with that. So you had to deal with that. It was a crazy, probably 3 or 4 years. Your first 3 or 4 years were pretty crazy.
Pretty crazy. And it didn't end there. It took a long time to get stable. And then people get used to it, you know, like I would say, if young people ask me how to start a band and how would success look like, and I always go like, just spend 10 years and then you see, you know, it's like always like the magic 10 years you have to put into something.
Yeah.
To see where it's at, you know, in the end, if it's successful or not, or if you can even. Keeping a band together is not that simple, you know.
No.
It's especially if you want it to be a good band with a lot of great output. You have to have people who have something to say, and with people that have something to say, there come problems for sure. You know, like in our band, you have seven like really leading people who have strong opinions and a strong personality. And the majority of our bands could go out there and release albums on their own, like technically speaking, and that makes you have a couple of like leader type of guys in one band. Of course, you have to find a way to communicate with each other, but the benefit is that you have a lot of output, which you can see on this album. It's a pleasure to have strong songwriters, and not just 1 or 2 of them, even more, you know, and that makes this band so interesting, I think.
Yeah, I would say that when you have, you know, at least 5 guys in the band capable of writing really good tracks, you can take the best of the best from them, and it makes the album stronger.
Yes, and that's what we always do. That's and there again, our management comes in, our producers, you know, so everybody is involved in that process, and I mean that's a luxury we have, that we can like pick what we find makes a good album and gives the album the experience of a musical journey, you know. So and that's what we're aiming for.
Yeah. So you talked about Danny being, you know, a big addition to the band, and I agree with that. So is the story that when he joined, he was in a room and you just walked in and said, "Are you going to join the band or what?" That's what he told me.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually true, because it didn't happen to me, and I was kind of lost for a long time. You know, what happened was that I got invited to fly to Tenerife to meet Vicky, and we would just hang out. You know, we would hang out for a couple of weeks, and we didn't even play guitar together. It was just like to get to learn to get to know each other more, you know, and see if we get along. And then we recorded that album, and everything happened so quickly. And nobody came and was actually asking, "Hey, do you want to join the band as a permanent member?" I kind of realized that when we had a video shoot for Just a Little Sign. I was like, okay, I guess I'm in the band, you know. So, but to this day, nobody has asked me if you want to join the band, you know.
Yeah.
So, and when Danny came, I wanted to spare that from him because it felt really odd for me, and I was kind of lost because I didn't know what's gonna happen. So now we recorded the album. Where am I at with these guys, you know? So I went into the studio when he was there, and because we have spoken as a band about it, and we were like, okay, he's so good and he's a nice guy, he should join a band. I was like, okay, but nobody's gonna ask him. I will do that, you know, because nobody would have asked him, you know. It would have just happened again, you know. And then I went into saying, okay, now I want to know, do you want to join the band? Because we want you to join the band, you know. And so he found that pretty funny. That
yeah, I never knew. So I never knew actually what happened with that. All I remember back then, it was actually the last press release I ever wrote. Yeah, we have a new drummer. This is his name. This is the band he played in. I'm like, okay, and that was it. And I never knew the story of how he joined. I remember you getting a phone call from Wyke when he, you know, and you were kind of in the middle, and it was kind of unexpected. But but the Danny thing was
no,
funny.
it was expected. That's the funny thing. It was expected because Charlie told me that Wyke will call me, but he told me he will call you in the next couple of days.
Yeah.
And then he called me 30 minutes after I hung up with Charlie, you know, and I was like in a rush. There was a girl I wanted to date at that on the day that was like really busy, like in getting into the shower and stuff, you know. And there's another thing. It's just a nice story, yeah. I told Wyke just out of emotion, just let me know what you want, because I'm busy. I'm in a hurry. I have to leave. And later on, like a couple of years later, he told me that he was really impressed by that, because he would like, that's the situation I told you before, because he was kind of receiving all these like demo tapes of guitar players who wanted to be the new guitar player. And I didn't even know that Helloween was searching for a new guitar player. And then he calls me and I tell him, hey, tell me what you want. I'm in a hurry, you know? So he found that pretty impressive that he didn't hear me play. He, he calls me up and I'm like, let's talk another time, you know? So
yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story about that. I remember back then them talking about, you know, there were some names thrown out there. I'm not going to go into that, but I just remember talking to him and he goes, I think I found the person, and he didn't tell me who it was. And it might've been right before he called you. I could be wrong. I think we were talking on Messenger or something like that way so many years ago. And then he called me. He goes, I think I found our guitar player. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was so weird. The whole time was so weird. Even what I got to know later on was that the press already, the metal press was already suggesting that I could be the new guitar player even before Wyke knew it and I knew it. even like they were like guess working who could be the guy. So of course they knew that I'm free, kind of. I'm not in Freedom Call anymore. So they were kind of guessing who could be the new guitarist, who could be a fit for the band, And so I later on, somebody showed me like magazines where there was a picture of me. Could this be the new guitar player of Helloween? Yeah. And it was a time where even Vikey and I didn't know that we would speak about it, So yeah.
That's yeah. It was pretty crazy the way a lot of that stuff went down back then. I just think I remember when you joined. I remember he was pretty excited about that because I remember you guys going and doing some promotion stuff in Japan back then. Actually, I found photos of that, and you guys doing a lot of press in Japan together. But I felt just the way when he spoke to me about it, I felt like, something about this guy Sascha, and I had no idea who you were at the time, that well, and it just something felt like there was like an excitement in his voice about it, and I just remember I'm like, okay, this guy's probably going to work out pretty well, and I knew Freedom Call, but I didn't really know much about you, and then here comes the Rabbit Don't Come Easy album, and there's these 2 songs on there, and I'm like, man, this dude could write some tracks, right? And kind of went from there. And so it's interesting and funny to look back at that 20 some years later. And then
absolutely
30 songs
by
later.
The way, yeah, and by the way, we're Mikey and I were still talking about this Japanese promotion tour because we have been so hilarious on this tour that they didn't want us to have for the next promotion run anymore because we were so funny and silly all the time. It's all about connection. We had like instant connection, him and I, like on the humor side, which is, I always say, humor is the glue for relationships. If you humor can be really sticky even in bad situations. You can, if you stick to that, it's just very important to have fun together, and we had that from the beginning, and we have to till now. I mean, he's the guy I have the most I think contact with in the band, even when we're not on tour or we're not doing an album. We're always in touch. It's a very strong bond from the beginning, and maybe that's where the excitement came from. And then musical wise, same thing. We kind of share some of the same roots, and I also have that with Kai. Like there are a lot of dots that just connect and work musical wise, and that's what makes a band working.
Yeah, and speaking, I'm going to go to a different topic here. You guys just did this live album, live at Budokan. I want to touch on that a minute. What was it like playing in that venue and playing that show for it? Because it's a very big venue over there.
Yeah. I would say it was a kind of a milestone for us because, and it's more an emotional thing. We, on this tour, especially, we had played a couple of like really big arenas already, and especially in Latin America, Colombia and Chile and all these countries, we are really successful there, and so, but we kind of, but Budokan is something that, like, if you go into rock history, it leaves a certain mark, and for younger people, I think they couldn't emotionally grab what it's about, but for all of us, I mean, we all know, like, when you go into rock music history, that's something as a teenager you could recognize, that like the biggest names would play at Budokan in Japan, and then suddenly we did it, and it was just like we couldn't grab what it does to us. It was just amazing. It was like, okay, wow, it's really happening. Because for years it was like, oh, one day maybe we'll be able to play in Budokan. That would be so nice, It's something, but it's some goal you have, and you think like, well, and if it's never happening, that's okay, But when it's happening, suddenly you don't you don't get a grasp of what it means while you're doing it. You realize that afterwards, at least for me, it was that way. And I think for the older guys in the band, it has had even more impact,
Yeah.
because it's such a legendary venue, and that connected to rock and roll history. It's a huge thing. And for us, especially in Japan as well, for a long time, we played like bigger clubs in Japan. It's not like what people would think. It's not easy for foreign artists to be successful in Japan. It's not that they're waiting for you. They have their own distinctive scene with really good artists, and the foreign market is like pretty small. It's not a lot of bands make it to Japan, and if you make it even on a club level, that's pretty huge already. That's like, that's something, So, and then ending up playing Budokan is very special. It's like the cherry on the cake, If you can do that as a foreign band, that's something.
Yeah, and the Japanese market, I said this when the single came out, and one of the reasons, you have a single that's a kind of tribute to that fan base. Regardless of whatever trends have ever gone on in other countries, other places, the Japanese fan base, for me, just witnessing what a lot of bands have gone through over the years, they've always been the most consistent. Like, they've always been there. It doesn't really, that group of fans, it doesn't really, you could be in every other country, have this trend where people hate heavy metal or whatnot, and then Japan, you're still able to play shows and people are happy to see you. And I noticed that through the 90s. They were like that in the 80s. It didn't matter. That fan base has been very consistent in supporting bands like Helloween or a lot of other heavy metal bands for that matter.
I think the difference from the difference in Japanese fans to other fans is, like in the Western world, we people follow trends. Right. Even within the metal scene, you can see that there's like this type of metal genre dope, then people will follow that, and I don't mean it in a bad way. It's just a natural behavior we learned from when we're little. It's like in the Western world, it's really common. There's a trend coming, and then it's kind of, the train is passing by, and you either hop on the train or you lose the train or whatever,
Yeah.
So, and I have the feeling that a lot of people are fans of trends and bands, because it's cool. They like it for sure. And I think like a real dedicated fan loves it. It's like totally into it. Makes sense. But in Japan, it's like pure dedication and love. It's on a different level. Just to express that visually, the gifts we receive from Japan are crazy. I like a couple of days ago, a Japanese girl sent me an origami that she made by hand. Like origami is like this paper work, and there are so many details in there, and it took a long time for sure. I don't know how long she would work on there, but it must have been a couple of days. Or the first time I came to Japan on tour, I got a hands-on kimono made by a fan, and it was like a tent. It was like huge, and there was like a handwritten letter. I'm guessing you are a giant, and that's why I made it a little bit bigger. So so there's so much love and dedication, and you can feel that the way they present you gifts, and they come to autograph sessions, and they know every little detail. Also, the Japanese press, they want to know every little detail. It's almost like you have to, not nowadays anymore, but back then when I joined the band, they wanted to know from what second to what second was your guitar solo, and I'm like, I don't know. Can we play the song? So they're so dedicated and specific, and it's I think it's a cultural personality trait they have, that we don't have in the Western world,
I agree.
Not that much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I buy vintage camera gear from over there, and I deal with people in Japan. I buy it from camera stores there, and like when they send it to you, I'll have this like handwritten thank you note. Though, like I had this one guy, he wrote me a handwritten thank you note, and then wrote it in English and then wrote it in Japanese. I had his wife, literally, she sent me a little origami thing as well. And it was actually, they just do stuff that you wouldn't normally see here.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
By the way, we're now entering into the realm of vintage camera gear. I don't know if you know, but I'm a big photography fan, and
of course, that was the first conversation you and I had. By the way, I remember.
Oh
that.
yeah. So I discovered a new hobby for me while I'm in Japan. You know, and you should really do that if you ever find a way to bring your family and do another holiday experience. Go to Japan and go on vintage lens hunting in like vintage camera stores. I did it the last time. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it's really something. It's something else, you know, because I was searching for an old 80s Olympus lens because mine broke on tour, and I wanted to get a new one. So I was in search for vintage stores, and they have tons of them there, and they're sometimes very obvious and sometimes pretty hidden. So I went into this like hidden vintage store. I wouldn't find it at first because I went to the address, and there was like an office building, and there was nothing written on there. And I was like, okay, but it must be here. That's the number. It should be in there. So I went in there, and then I was kind of going with the elevator through different levels, you know, and then everything was like offices closed. You know, you would have those long aisles with closed offices, and then suddenly one guy came out of a door, and I was asking me, here, look, there must be this vintage store, but I don't find it. And then he told me where to go, and I went on another level, and then it was like, don't know, third door on the right, just knock. And so it was like really like pastel colored walls, and like really 70s Japanese, you know. And so I was knocking on the door, and an old guy would open the door, and I would look in like it was like in a weird psychedelic movie, because there are these little doors and side by side, and you would think like, okay, there are little offices, and then this huge room opened up when he opened the door. It was like this huge room full of camera gear stacked on each other and boxes, and it was like a totally mess. But he knew exactly where everything is, and I was asking for a list. I need to have this like Olympus lens, blah blah blah, from that year, blah. And he was like, "Yeah, no problem." And then he went like through the boxes, you know, and then he found it. He was like, "Yeah, there it is." And it was such a great experience. And if you're into that kind of vintage gear, you should really do a trip. I mean, the whole trip will be fun anyways for your family, but doing something like that is if you like vintage camera gear, it's a nice experience, even more than ordering stuff. It's like really something you will never forget.
Yeah, I own a lot of vintage Canon gear for the photography work that I do. I have a lot of vintage lenses, and I ended up getting most of them from people in Japan. But I remember talking to one of them on the phone once, because there was it was a really weird fisheye lens that I was looking for, a specific one. And he goes, I don't have it listed, but let me look. In like he goes, I don't think I have it. And like 3 minutes later, he goes, oh yeah, I have one. And it was just, it's crazy. And then when they say, oh, the lens is in okay shape, it's not great. And then you get it, and it looks like it came right out of the box, which is even that's how a lot of them are. Yep.
And actually, for Western countries, pretty cheap as well. You find like really sought after vintage lenses in a very good shape for a really, really good price. Very reasonable.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to do that. So now that's always on my list. So now that I experienced it, even if I don't need a lens, I will go and hunt for one, you know.
Just to go into the store is fascinating, and they
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
have it,
it's
and they don't have it like set up the way like you would walk into like a retail store. Everything's like kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. Like it's everything's like kind of stacked there in these boxes, and not all of them are marked, but somehow they know where everything's at. It's like the weirdest. It's one of the strangest things you can experience.
yeah. I mean, they have some like official stores as well. Like in
Hmm.
streets, you can see them. They're like pretty well set up, of course. You know, having stuff behind the glass and stuff. But
Yeah.
those hidden stores are much more fun.
So, are you ready? Before we end this off, are you ready? I'm going to show you a photo from your Japan tour, promo tour with Wikey.
Mm,
So
mm.
you can check this out here. Hold on, I got to share it. But um, there you go, man. You remember that?
Yeah, oh God, that's a very long time ago.
It is. I don't know how. Don't ask me. This just popped up. I put a hard drive into my computer
That's crazy.
to grab some stuff,
Yeah,
and
that's early 2000s, baby.
it is. It's early 2000s vintage Sascha. Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah, and Mikey as well. You can send me that picture, by the way. I don't have that.
Yeah,
I never
I'll
saw
send it
that
to
before.
I'll send it to you. Yeah. This was, I don't remember who sent this to me. Somebody sent this to me. And it wasn't somebody from Japan. Somebody that was there had actually sent me that photo, and
That's funny.
I found all sorts of really old photos from back in the day. Like I had, when I had Danny on the show a couple of years ago, I was showing him some of these old photos of him that he like, you know, from years and years ago, like when he first joined the band and everything. And
Hmm.
that was one of the here. We'll go over here. I'm going to share one. I'm going to share a few more of these with you. I can always send them to you, but check this out. There you go. Look at that. You guys, you know, maybe that's one of
Oh
those
yeah,
gifts
yeah,
that you
yeah.
had. Yeah. So there's that one,
Mm.
and you guys are
Yeah,
sitting
yeah.
next to each other. You know, and probably answering questions. Looks like a signing session of
Yeah, it
some
was a
sort.
signing session. I remember that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And yeah, so there's that. Then there's so
You know
there's that one.
that promotion tour. It's like within Vikings and my personal history, it's our favorite. We're
Yeah.
still talking about that because it was so much fun to do that.
Yeah. Here's the next one. You
Yeah,
guys all signed. Look at all the people there too. I mean, there's
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah.
of people.
That's
You
what I
guys.
meant about the dedication, you know, and
Yeah.
especially you must know it was in a period where the band was really in a struggle, you know. It was not
I
it was not
remember.
the it was not our prime time, and still they would be so loyal and come by and say hello, you know,
Yeah.
and for me it was the first official thing even before we went on tour, you know.
Yeah.
So
Here's one more.
yeah,
Look at that.
I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So I figured we'll
That's good.
take a little trip back in time with since since we talked about Japan and you have the single, I figured we could, you know, throw that in there and, you know, show you
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
those things. But I'll send those to you.
Yes.
That's no problem. But yeah, anyway, I got to be honest, man. I've always thought, you know, there was always something about your personality and who you are that I thought fit so well with these guys. And it's nice to see how much stability you added. I think you added a lot of that unknowingly. And it just, you know, watching, because I was around before when how things were before and how things after, and I've seen before and
Hmm.
after, and I can tell you that it's a much. I remember seeing you live for the first time and with the lineup that you had right before Pumpkins United, and it just felt so completely. It felt more relaxed and a lot different, and I've really enjoyed and have been pretty proud to see what you've done over the years with these guys because you've written some great stuff, and I think you've really been an asset to this band. And you know, these two songs on this album are incredible. You know,
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah. I mean, I
Thanks, man.
can't.
That's nice to hear.
Yeah, I can't really put that. I can't really put that into words. It's hard, but I can tell you, Hand of God, the lyrics had an effect on me, and I think Universe Gravity for Hearts is an incredible song, and probably, in my opinion, my favorite song you've ever written.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks.
Any last words for the fans that'll be checking out this interview?
Oh, well, this is obviously an American podcast channel, right? So I'm really looking forward to come back to the States to tour, hopefully next year. And I would say stay healthy, alive, and stay tuned.
Hey everybody, Tony here from the Metal Command podcast. Again, I appreciate your support. Since 1998, I have hosted this show in one form or another, starting off in radio and now in the podcast format. Again, thanks for watching, and if you like what you see and hear on this show, by all means, please hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell to be notified anytime I do post a video, and if you see this program on any other form of social media, please give me a follow there. Again, I always appreciate your support.